Okay. Weird. All right. Oh, there. Chat is there. Okay, good. Happy happy Saturday. Happy free RPG day, I believe. I believe that's correct. I don't usually stream today. I don't usually stream over the weekends, but the fam went to the beach, and I did not want to go to the beach. Not so much that I didn't want to go to the beach. I like the beach. I don't tend to like it as much as they do. I don't tend to love just kind of baking out in the sun. And when you're in a resort, that kind of beach, I like. It's got stuff and shelters, and you can go somewhere else. You can go into the main, whatever. Right there's, you get some nice, not even more than umbrellas, depending, and you can kind of duck out and go elsewhere, whatever. But when you go to the beach here, and most places, right, you're kind of at the beach. I really like. I feel like in Europe and stuff, they have better beaches. At least, beaches I've been to in France and places like that, where they have restaurants and things where you can kind of go on the beach and they kind of like little mini resorts, almost day resorts. But here they don't really have that concept, which is partly good because I think a lot of the beaches over there, they're gated. You can basically lock off a piece of beach and saying this is for resort A, B, and C. Whereas I want to say here isn't the rule that I think all beaches are public lands. So you can't do that. In any case, they're going off to some beach, and it's a nice beach. You forget that living in New York City from my house, if traffic is like this morning, it probably was for them leaving, 20 minutes, you can be at a beach. You're not far. Now, of course, we're the Northern Atlantic. So how warm that beach is and the water and whatnot, well, I don't know. They're going to find out. But the beach is there, and they are there. But I am not there. Because I think, given that it's a free RPG day, I'm going to go check out some RPG stuff. And I know that there's Sam of, what's the name of his adventures? Shifting Sands, doing a lot of stuff. He's working on this thing, Cataphract, which I need to look at in its own video, is doing a talk about it at the 20-sided store in Williamsburg in a few hours. So I'm going to go give that a listen. And not that he needs my support, but give a little support. And then I'm also probably going to swing by one other game shop, maybe on my way. I think on my way there, Brooklyn Strategist in Carroll Gardens. I know this is meaningless unless you're inside kind of New York City or you used to live here, whatever. But so essentially, I'm going to swing by a couple of, not my neighborhood, but neighborhood gaming stores. Not sure what else I'll do this afternoon. I have no idea when my family's going to come back, but I presume I kind of have the day. They tend to stay at the beach once they're there. It's kind of once you're there, you don't really just want to leave. I mean, I sometimes do, but they don't. Anyway, I'm up. I'm at them. I got maybe an hour before I sort of gotta hit the road, so I thought I could do something productive instead of just laying around. So I have a fresh cup of coffee and a glass of water for the working man. I've got my document up, this playtest doc. So I thought I could go through that. What you are looking at right here is I have the list of crafts and then lores down here. Forgive the formatting. I don't know if I have everything. And I was going to write out some little. They're kind of self-explanatory for the most part. There are some that need a little bit of explanation, just to kind of reset. So in this game, I'm calling your sort of skill things, these kind of skill groups, crafts, and knowledge things, lores. So you know how to use swords. You call it sword craft. You could just say, I have a craft in swords, so things like that. And really, I'm not trying to do a D100 style laundry list of crafts, but this is basically the kind of stuff that either is your weapons, your armor, to put it in BX terms, right? Or your thief skills. And I do add a few more, stuff like some of your downtime stuff. Oh, I'm good at researching stuff. Great. If you're spending the day, and that's not something that would really come up. I mean, I suppose it could come up if you ended up in a let's say a magic user's, wizard's library. Maybe research could do it. You could figure out something. Things like that, which I think I should probably put. Because I think I have research. And there's a couple things there's some gray areas which I suppose I can get into now as I start to work on some of these. Basically like appraisal. I think this is something I goofed as I was writing things down. I noticed it when I was looking at the characters. I think at that Monday night game night, I have appraisal very listed as a knowledge and a craft, or sorry, as a lore and a craft. So as a lore, it kind of makes sense to me in that it's this idea of you kind of have a sense of what things are worth. Like you could look at something and get, but then that's also probably a skill, right? You'd say an appraisal is a skill that maybe is, and maybe I should take out appraisal and really have different things that you have lore in, and you can use those to appraise. That might be the best thing, actually. So I'll probably, let me make a note somewhere. I think, or maybe I should write it down. I need to do better at writing down. I'm trying to get back into writing down things because I know that it works better on your brain to write it down, and I know it certainly works better for mine if I'm writing it down versus swapping things from digital notebooks. But I don't have my thing here. Okay, so that's probably another thing. I should always probably make sure to have my thing at my desk. And this is not a, I have any text. Let me pull up any text or any type. I always call it any text. It's any type. Get that off here. Make a note. Where's my plus for new note? Okay. Remove appraisal. Use lores to appraise things. That actually makes a lot more sense. I like that. I'll put a little. What do we have? This is for troop. I could change the type, right, to it being a checkbox. Ba-bam. So just to see, you can any type is this kind of global. I don't even know what you call it. Kind of a notes. You can kind of throw anything into it. So there you go. I made myself a note. But I do prefer physical notes. And the nice thing with any type is you could share it across devices, but basically it doesn't have a cloud element. Essentially what happens is when your devices that have any type are on the same network, you can then share things. So being on my home network, it'll sync my computer with my phone and my iPad. If I'm out and about, I'm on my phone. Then when I come back to my home network, it syncs. It feels like it's really clever like that. And I kind of wish more things would do that, where it's got this, you don't have to invest in some service element. I don't need to have a subscription to any type. I'm sure I know they're developing it, and I'm sure they probably do have some pro tier, and I'm sure you can do that stuff, but I really just appreciate the simplicity of it. I have 3 devices. I can do this if I want. I haven't really set it up yet, but I could probably do something if I wanted to say use Git or something else to back up wherever the database is. I probably could set that. Probably should set that up. But you can sort of do that yourself, and it just bounces around all your devices. It's really handy because I find that I don't have to do much 99% of the time. Type something in the living room on my phone, walk in here, open up any type, and bloop, it's there. It's like it's noise. It's noise. All right. So one of the things I do need to write up is armor. So the way I'm working armor is you need to wear the heavier armors, you need to have those levels of these ranks. So if you're unfamiliar, no armor. Familiar, light armors. Trained, medium armors. Expert, heavy armors. You can, if you want to, you have to be at least familiar, and then you can wear heavier ones, but you get strain, which is my 1 meta resource. In this case, it's kind of strain in this point. So strain is my universal thing for any kind of damage or stress or whatever, whether it's from exhaustion, if you want to have some kind of, terror or whatever you want to do, sanity, exhaustion, health, all that stuff is just strain. And you start to pick up strain, you have to deal with it. So when out of your dice pool, if you have 2 strain and you're trying to do something, you need to account for that strain before you can do anything. So if my dice pool is 4 and I have 2 strain, I only have 2 dice. So you can deal with a number of strain, and the higher level you get, obviously you can carry more strain before you need to try to get rid of it. And then if you pick up more strain than you can get rid of, so if I have 4 dice and I pick up a 5th strain, then I go to a weakened state where it's starting to affect more. So you can carry a little bit of strain, and it'll be a pain in the butt, but you can still kind of do it. But if you let it go too far, kind of risk reward sort of thing. Do we want to check another room, or do you want to rest to get rid of the little strain we have? And of course, if you're first level and you have one strain, that's kind of tough. You probably want to rest, but you can kind of get rid of it. Once you get to weekend, then it's like, no, that's kind of more, you've got some kind of, you got more long term. You're gonna have to do kind of long term rest and recuperation to get rid of that part. So, all right. So the oops, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. I just want body type, just regular old body type. Oh, whoops, no, sorry, not that. Just, yeah, no. There we go. Okay. Ability to wear armor. Familiar for light armor. Trained for medium armor. Expert for heavy armor. If familiar, if at least familiar, can wear heavier armor than, let's see, not than allowed. Well, yeah, I guess then allowed for a penalty of 1 strain per I don't know if that totally makes sense. It makes sense to me. All right, now let's put some notes in here. Armor. Train. Oops. Trained for medium armor. Expert for heavy armor. At least familiar. Per. Right, so if you're familiar and you want to wear plate mail, you can do it, but you're going to take 2 strain because it's expert, right? And you're only familiar. 1 for expert, 1 for one for trained and 1 for expert. If you're trained, you want to heavy armor, you can just do it for 1. So I like it because you can, if you want to tank up to a certain point, you can. Oh yeah, I need to put it. You cannot make spellcraft while wearing any armor. Cannot make rituals while wearing heavier than medium armor. Is ritual a verb? Can I just refer to ritual as a verb? No, it's not. There's an adjective ritual and there's a noun ritual. There's no verb ritual. Okay. But I would say spellcraft is, so I don't have to make spellcraft. Cannot spellcraft. But I cannot make rituals. So this is essentially, in a sense, I'm basically, I'm basically mirroring what's in BX, right? Because BX, you are BX, you can't, I guess unless you're an elf. Here, if you notice, I'm kind of going, I'm really looking at this human centrically. I will probably have to put a note about kind of how to treat the other races, other species, like elves, dwarves, halflings, but I'm not doing that kind of yet. I mean, I don't really have to because I guess that on the one hand, like I'm not trying to I'm trying to make this broadly compatible with BX. I'm not trying to be BX. So that was kind of that sort of was my original concept. I think we're going to have elves and dwarves and things like that in creatures. Maybe I should put a note about, I really haven't thought about, well, because I don't, I want to have the same thing, that if you want to play whatever kind of thing. But I don't have it exactly that part figured out yet. And probably for, at least in terms of this, is sort of a kind of a play test, quicker sort of thing. I'm not sure I'm going to worry about it, but I think I'll want to address it at some point, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe leave that for the oh shoot, it's going to keep doing that. I know it's going to keep making me, I'm going to turn that off. All right. Ability to wield axes. The axes. Familiar for hand axes. Trained for battle axes. Is that really a thing, battle axe? And two-handed axes. Is a battle axe two-handed? I don't know. I'll leave it for now. I'll have to come back. I'll do that. And I'll do. So one of the things I like about my systems is that you can have some flexibility, right? So you have just the fact that, hey, I've got this level or rank, level of mastery in the skill. But then you also have these other things where I can gate certain things to these levels. So if I want to say that, oh yeah, armor, you can wear it. I don't have to have a different. Basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is, in this system, something I like about it is I can have this concept of essentially proficiencies with different armors, but encapsulated in one skill. I'm just looking at the, which I call that craft, is looking at, depending on the level of the craft, is what's going to tell you how much you can do. So, for example, when you get to medicine, familiar is like first aid, right? But you're not getting surgery, some type of surgical operation, or I would say surgical operation. I would define as being expert. And I think there's another word I have to remember from my other document, basically, because when you're testing a craft or a lore, some of it you have to have some expertise involved. You can't just be like, oh, it's the thing, like, I'm 18 intelligence. I know the circumference of the universe. Like, no, you don't. There's no amount of natural smarts that's going to let you calculate stuff. Like, you have to have years and years of astronomy training. So that kind of question, if that were a question, would be, okay, that one is for the trained people who've actually studied astronomy or astrophysics, right? That's that kind of question. And the same thing, surgery is one that, no, sorry, it's not about your dex and it's not about your natural smarts. You simply cannot do open heart surgery. Sorry, no, that is something you need to have some level. And I set that level by essentially putting a negative modifier on the roll. So if you're trained and it gives you a +1, if I say I want this challenged only to be viable for people who are trained, I just put a -1 on the other end. Therefore, and again, I like the simplicity of it, because I say, okay, this is a trained, if I say, someone says, I want to do open heart surgery, I say, okay, this is an expert challenge. It means you have to have the expert. That means it's -2. So if you go, well, I'm really smart or whatever, I have a lot of learning, so I get 1 extra die. I'm like, great, but the target number is 8. How are you going to get there? You can't. There's no like on a 20 or anything. It's like, no, you cannot, because there's no like on a 6. It's like, I'm going to roll. It's like, no, you cannot get it. Because you can't get higher than 6 unless you have your own bonus. If you're at least of an expert level, yeah, you're going to have a +2 bonus, which gives you a 6. So you have an opportunity. If you're trained, no dice. If you're familiar, no dice. And if you're unfamiliar, really no dice. And so it does the same kind of things, but without, I guess I like about it is it doesn't have a lot of the cruft, and there's not a whole lot of process about it. I just simply determine, yeah, this is a a master challenge would be, -3, which would be at the really top end, right? So most stuff's going to be in the mundane, everyday stuff, right? So, changing a tire. First time I had to change a tire, I hadn't read any. I didn't know how to do it. I just kind of had enough of an idea. You kind of see how things work. You know generally what you need to do to change a tire. The steps are mostly self-evident, right? You got to get the jack in the right spot, and you can kind of see it's got, okay, I got to get that there, that kind of thing. Okay, that's a sort of a mundane task, right? Even a moron like me can figure that out and sort of do it. But then you might have something like, well, I don't know, some other things wrong with your car. So it's like, I don't know anything about cars. Like there's not enough of intelligence, not enough natural brain power for me to get that done. Therefore, it requires more. Anyway, that's what that is. Okay, so, and I guess I don't need to copy that. So the same thing with, so all the weapons, if I want to have different types of weapons, and some of them are martial, right? And some of them are sort of simple, or, I've been going back what they call them, kind of peasant weapons or simple weapons. For example, I can say, okay, so the ability to wield a bow, if you're familiar, short bow. If you're trained, long bow. I don't think I'm going to have crossbows. Maybe I will. I don't know. And it's another easy way to gate it. So if you're a peasant, yeah, you've got your little short bow, your little kind of hunting bow. But you're going to have you want to be like a true longbow person. Well, you probably need to be a warrior for that, right? To familiar for short bows, trained for long bows. And I could add more. Like I said, it's one of those things that. If I want to add more categories of stuff, I haven't really taken a look at, like, do I want horse bows or do I want other ones? It's probably, I think I would just say and I'd like to go and get more, I don't know, I'd like to look at historical names. I know we've got, I think longbow tends to show up. I don't know if people actually called them short bows back in the day or what they called them. It'd be nice to look up. I'm not going to dwell on it for now, though. Okay. Ceremony, I gotta figure that one out still. I really like the idea of it. It's kind of the idea of being able to bestow authority and things, is being able to conduct. You have some sort of authority that you can use to do stuff. So I like it for the kind of the paladin classes. They have this sort of religious, you're part of some kind of holy, or I suppose unholy order. And that you can do something like someone might come up to you and say, can you preside? We need somebody to preside over the blessing of a well, let's say. You can do that. You can preside over these kinds of things, and it holds weight, I guess. And maybe not even something that you really need to. It might just be there's not a role attached to it so much as I think the amount of weight. The ability to. And sign over, and what's the word? It's shoot, there's a word I'm looking for. It's basically you grant shoot. There's a word. It's like it's authentic's not the right word, but it's like when something is kind of like authentic, but you might say that man, it's like if there was a law, right? And you might say, oh, they passed this law, but they didn't go through all the steps, so it is not oomph. Whereas another law has gone through all the steps, it is, and it's kind of like authentic, but it's not. It's a different word. Oh boy. Shoot. Okay, let me come back to it. Let me not get stuck. Let me come back to it. And not every weapon I think is going to have. I could probably do clubs and maces. Could probably be the same. That's a good idea. All right. Clubs, maces, and hammers. Would they kind of all be the same? Is there a significant difference between how you would handle a club, a mace, right? Is that one where I would say, I don't know, is there a significant difference between these kind of bludgeoning weapons? I'm just going to put a quick search and see. It seems like a very niche question. Let's see what the... All right, so I'll just pull this over here so you can see it. So I'm just wondering, again, I don't know, no idea. Maces versus clubs. What the hell? That's definitely not it. Dare I see what the thing is going to be? Okay, not about trench warfare. Mace, no. The Medieval Guide, Medieval Maces. History of Maces. All right, let's see this. Any edition, let's see that. And we'll go to the Medieval Guide. All right, let's pull some things up here. What did this AI? Differences. Okay, maces and clubs are often used similarly. Focus on striking, while hammers may require different techniques due to their design and weight distribution. Particularly common. All right, so I'll do maces and clubs and keep hammers separate. So I had daggers and knives kind of in one thing. All right, so or I'll just say daggers and knife since I'm going, and I'll do club and mace. That's good because I'm always good to get rid of things I don't need. Keep it as simple as possible. Ability. Oh, did it to me again. I'm going to keep doing it. Okay. The ability to wield I might get rid of the ability, right? Wield a club or mace. Is there any... I don't think there's any different levels. I think there's just... I think that's it. Are maces more difficult to wield than clubs? Where's my... Sight not secure. Okay, well, we won't go there then. In your mind, if anything, what's the difference between a hammer and a mace? Medieval warhammers really swinging, piercing weapons like picks, sledgehammer, like hammers and mauls, really were much closer to maces by D&D rules. Warhammers were really swinging, piercing weapons like picks. I think they had a pick head on one hand and a hammer head on the other. The sledgehammer, like hammers, mauls, much closer to maces. Okay. By D&D rules. All right. If a okay, mace is all right. Pierce. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I have hammers separate. All right. I think I feel okay with my thing. All right. I got hammers separate already, so that's fine. Like club or a mace. I'm fine with that. I know maces are better, but I feel like if you could swing a club around, you can probably swing a mace around. Right? Dagger and knife. Yeah. Ugh. The hell? A dagger or knife. Yeah. Typo. I really need to figure something because I feel silly to write these all down. And I think this is where, I don't know if I want to, because I was thinking, do I want to categorize, like I said, that kind of simple peasant weapon? Simple weapons. And I think you can kind of see the ones, well, axes would be simple, right? I'll just kind of keep it like this. Oh, let's see. I'm going back to that ceremony. It's like landing over an event. lending it authority and legitimacy. That's it. The ability to preside over an event, whether authority, legitimacy, and something else I want to say, but I can't think of it. So, familiar for, let's see, what would it be? Familiar for informal events, trained for events such as marriages and funerals, expert for legally, legally, for trials, consecrations, and consecrations. Master for coronations. So I think, I'm going to say this. Okay. Of course, I am extraordinarily biased, but I think that's pretty darn cool. And once you get to be a high enough level in a religious order, you could preside over a trial. For, I guess I should say layperson. Master for there's the lay and there's the, right? What's the other word? The nobility, right? Is it just lay and nobility? Is there another word I'm thinking of? And lay nobility. What does lay nobility mean? It's supposed to just nobility. Here we go. A lay lord. Oh, I see. Non-secular authority. Clerical lords, lay lords. I see. I guess. What would be a word for someone who's non-nobility? Is there a word for that? What word means non, refers to, what term refers to not nobles? Yeah, go ahead. Non-noble sounds horrible. I just don't like it. Oh, commoners. Yeah, doi. But you're not getting master until that's a late game kind of thing. So in my mind, yeah, you're a high level person. I mean, it wouldn't be like you could just go up and make kings. Like they have to, like there's other, there'd be other stuff at play. But just generally speaking, I think that's a cool thing though. But because it takes a skill that's kind of like, well, what is that? Well, you can conduct ceremonies. So if someone needs to bury their dog, you can do that. and it has weight to it. Like it means something. I'm not sure what the rolls, because it might be fun to do a roll attached to it and see what you get. But that's not for this section. But that's a cool bit, I think. All right, so clubs and mace, the ability to wield a club and mace. Dagger, the ability to wield a dagger or knife. Dancing. Ugh. Ability to dance. Familiar. Yeah, just the ability to dance. Maybe it's not, what's the word I'm like, to dance as performance, not just dancing. It's not for just dancing, like, oh, you're at the hoedown, everybody roll for your dance. No, this is the ability to dance as a performer, as a performance. Right. Foraging. To forage for let's see, fruits for edible or otherwise useful fruits, nuts, fungi, etc. I probably shouldn't use foraging in its own thing. To find and collect in the wilds, edible or otherwise useful fruits, veggies, fungi, etc. All right, that's fine. Forbidding. Here we go. The ability. Oh my gosh, it's gonna drive me crazy. The ability to what's the repel? I guess I was gonna put undead creatures. I'm gonna come up with my own word. Undead creatures. I'll probably put C. Forbidding. C. Magic. Forbidding for more details. Sure. Yeah, so the forbidding the ability to, oh, you know what? Repel undead or other. Yeah, because I'm using forbidding like my extended turn undead that I've kind of been playing around with. So it's not just things, but also non-native. So it's not just. I don't know if I like alien as a term, but I'm going to use it for now. Hammer. Oh, it's going to keep doing it. How am I doing on time? All right, 9:58. I still got a little bit of time left. Good. Ability to wield hammers. How many different? Where's my BX book? It's right at my feet. Excellent. Just looking at the equipment list. So that's what I'm sort of going for by default. It's the equipment list. When in doubt, look at the equipment list. What kind of hammers do you have? So there's small hammers, and then there's, which is not really a small hammer. I think it's just for doing your iron spikes. I don't even think that has a, war hammer. Yep. All right. But I would let you use a hammer. Hammers, I don't think I need to have multiple levels of that. I think that suffices. Hiding. Yeah. To conceal. Conceal from notice. Notice. Familiar. To hide behind obstructions. Let's see. Trained. Do I have something? No. Expert to hide in shadows. So there you go. So that's how I can get the little bit of differentiation. So there's obstructions, I guess, right? What was the other one? There'd be, what do they say? There's hide behind. I guess there's like cover, right? Right? There's I'm trying to think. What are the things that you can get? There's different types of cover. There's cover and trying to think. I'm trying to remember what the words they use. 3/4 cover, full cover. Isn't there one that's just kind of like, what if it's not? Is it just? Do they call it concealment? If it's like a curtain. I don't know. All right, never mind. I'll just keep it like that. Instruments. Ability. Oh, you. And I'd like to have individual, and this is something where I think for a particular campaign, it'd be cool to have a list of instruments, but I'm not getting into that here. So I'm just, as much as kind of part of me wants to go, oh yeah, I'd love to talk about what instruments you have. Hey, Croco. I'm not doing that here. All right, so the ability to play a single instrument of your choice as a performance. So, this is not about just, oh, I can tinkle away at something. This is doing something as, essentially as a professional, I guess is what I guess I'm trying to say with as a performance. Oratory, which is going to be the same thing. Ability to, what do we call that? Someone who tells tales. Croco says, is there a large enough difference between clubs, maces, hammers to warrant different proficiencies? I actually looked that up, Croco. Apparently, variously, yes. Short answer is apparently there are. Whether it's really meaningful, I think it's fine. Whether it ends up being really meaningful or not, it could be something I'll come back and shift it away from. But I read some stuff saying like, yep, there actually is a difference. It probably doesn't matter over much, but I already had it in there, so I'm keeping it in there for now. But I'll have to go through because I have combined, like I originally had clubs and maces also separately, and then I combined them. So who knows, in another round of me going through this, I'll end up combining it too. But for the moment, I'm fine to have them be separate. What's that word for speaking as a performance? What do we call that? I know. I'm trying to not avoid using orate in a. I'm calling it oratory, so I don't want to repeat the word oratory. So I need another word. What do we have? Yeah, public speaking. Oh, rhetoric. Yes. Yes. Rhetoric is a good one. Or what do we do when telling tales? What would we call someone like Homer who's storytelling? No. What terms describe oral storytellers? All right, so the ability to perform rhetoric. Oh, chronicler? Yeah, chronicling, rhetoric. Chronicling? Is that's gonna get, oh, yeah. What is the word for chronicling? Oh, die. Or poetry. All right. I think that works for that. Polearm. Ability to wield polearms. See, this is where I might have spear. I think I have spear, and I'll probably just pull that into polearms. Well, there's spears throwing spears, right? I don't know. Do I need spears separate? I know, like, the BX was definitely, I should have just kept that. Why did I close the page on weapons when I'm going to be going back to it? I know they've got it as separate things. I guess a spear and a polearm don't really work the same. Polearms is big picks and things where you're swinging them around, and spears are more poking and throwing. So I'll keep them separate. The wield polearms. Would there be any reason for me to have levels of polearms? What does the equipment list say? They just have polearms. Yeah. All right. So I'll just stick with that. The ability to wield polearms. Okay. Repair. Yeah. Ability to. All right. What are the synonyms for repair? Yeah, spears are kind of versatile. Like that can be thrown or. Yeah, I'll keep them separate because you're not really throwing polearms. I mean, as far as I know, I don't know. Someone can correct me if there was cases of people taking their halberd and chucking it. Oh yeah, mend or renovate an object or construction requires matching lore for the yeah, it requires matching lore. I don't think I need to say more than that, right? So just because you're good at repairing doesn't mean you can just repair anything under the sun. And remember, again, this is not your weapon. I'm not trying to do this for armor repair things that you're doing on a. This is for like, oh, my roof's fallen in. Can you help me repair it? I guess depending on upon the complexity of the restoration. So you don't always need it. You might need it. You might need it. Upon, I don't think I need to say construction. Let me simplify this a little bit. I'll definitely not want to have these split across pages, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. The ability to, all right, so here's, I need a synonym for ritual. Oh, I have. Okay, synonyms for ritual. Oh, no, because these are all like. Ceremonial. No, ceremony. Okay, no, that's not working. Synonyms for ritual. Right. Oh, good. Ability to conduct a divine rite. See magic rituals for more details. I don't know why. I don't know what the the Cambridge Guide or whatever says about where to put the periods. I don't know. I find them. I like them better outside the parens. So I think there's at least one of those guides that's put them. Maybe it's the Chicago Guide. I don't know. The various guides to punctuation. I need to reacquaint myself with those, but I'm not going to worry about it now. All right, Schoolcraft, the ability to cast a spell. We're going to see a pattern here. See magic. Oh, Scrollcraft, the ability to. I'm just looking at the ability to. Yes, to infuse a scroll with a magic incantation. Magic scrolls for more details. I wonder if I could put some asterisks because I want to mark the ones that are. It's too. Can I? Is there a? There we go. Excellent. So I'm going to put some of those next to the ones that they're expert. You need to have some. You can't do it just. Can't create scrolls just off the cuff. No matter what, you need to know something about it. Okay. See, magic scrolls. I need to put that in my. There we go. Shield to wield a shield. Let's see, what kind of shields they have. Oh, they just have one, so I'm not going to worry about that. So just, singing. The ability to sing as a performance. Sling. The ability to use a sling. I have trapping and snares. The trapping is for. I think I call it different things. Snares is literally for things you're hunting. It's kind of like a different way of hunting, I guess. Oh, and I think hunting I need to add in here. I definitely didn't catch all of the lore stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and crafts and things. The ability to capture creatures in the wilds by setting up. I'm gonna say small. Well, setting up, I guess, traps. It's fine. Is there another word for snare? So I want to say the ability to, I guess, capture. Sure. Once I say you could trap them, capture them. Anyway, it's fine. The ability to move silently. To move, I guess, stealthily. Familiar to move quietly. Expert to move silently. Right? So you just want to move quietly. That's just a familiar thing. Anybody can do that, or they can attempt it. But you got to be an expert if you want to try to move. Silence. Okay. just going to copy and paste this because I'm basically saying the same thing, but it's going to be spells instead of scrolls. To the ability to magic. Should I say magical? Incantations. The magic. Oh, spells. For more details. Swords. Ability to wield swords. Familiar for short swords. Trained for, what do they call them in BX? Axes, bows, daggers, swords, just swords. I call them broadswords, sure. Trained for two-handed, oops, not two-handed, two-handed swords. Oh, sorry, expert, I guess. Okay. Trapping and tumbling are what's left, but well, let me see. We'll try to get to the hour, and then I'm gonna jet. Hope folks are gonna check, dude. I think I mentioned at the top, Kronka, if you're still here, I probably missed it. I'm gonna be going to some free RPG day stuff, and I recommend, if you've got the time and you have your friendly local gaming stores available, show them some support today by going out and getting some free stuff, and maybe buying something. If the opportunity and something arises. There's a little game I saw the other day at Brooklyn Strategist, which I think I might pick up. It's called Gentle Rain. It's kind of a solo. It's supposed to be kind of really relaxing little game. It's a game that's in a box, very similar to, hold on a second, to this one I got, which I've only played a couple times, but it's fun. And it's really great. Tiny, bigger in, what's the word? It's more, there's more in the box going on than it punches way above its size in terms of kind of content. So there's another one like this. I think it's actually the exact same size box. There probably is a standard box for this. And it's called Gentle Rain. And of course, it's a very different thing. It seems like a relaxing, meditative, you're just kind of doing stuff and just sort of doing it. But it seemed like it might be fun. And I looked at it the other day when I was in there shopping for something else. Gloomhaven, it's basically, it's kind of D&D in a box in a sense. Very tactical combat. When I first played, the first time I kind of experienced Gloomhaven, it really seemed to me that's kind of what 4th edition should have been. 4th edition really was like 3/4 of the way towards Gloomhaven, except you needed GM and all this stuff. Gloomhaven it's GM-less. It is a board game, but it has a lot of story, lots of characters. You have advancement, you have all that stuff. It has very tactical combat with a ticking clock in terms of you're laying down cards to do stuff, but those cards are also kind of draining you. So when you run out of cards, you're done. So you have to try to complete your objectives before you run out of cards. There's it gets more complicated because there are different elements, and things are going on, so the different elements are kind of high or low for that round, and that has some things due to it. Enemies, your initiative is going with enemies. They all have a set sort of tactics, and depending on what kind of dice rolling, you have different tactics that they'll do. And you just use, if there's, let's say it says go to the closest person to attack, and if there are 2 people who are closest, you can decide, right? But it's enough set that you don't need an arbitrator to do it. You just kind of do it. And you have all these scenarios, and there's Gloomhaven and there's Frosthaven, but then they came out with this one, which the kind of hook for this is you got shrunk down to tiny size. So now you're in this little tiny world fighting tiny things. And of course it all works thematically because you're playing a tiny game and you're tiny people, but it's the same thing. You're setting up these little scenarios where you're basically doing these little tactical combats. And because things are very very easy to move around. It's very easy to know, oh, okay, the enemy's going to go here, or the enemy's going to go there. You can play it however you want, right? In terms of if the enemy's got multiple choices, do you want to be easy on yourself or hard on yourself? Does one work better for you? That's all decisions you can make, but it's a fun little game, just playing it. Doot, 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 doot. And I originally got it when I went to London. I thought maybe I'd play this on the plane, and I didn't. I actually didn't end up on popping things out and setting it up. But I'll just open it. Well, actually, let me just. I think I'm going to be just done, and for the next minute or even less. Well, minute. Let me switch cams here. Whee! All right. Like you get some little minis in here. Maybe I'll do a little video on it because it's fun and it's nice. So you got these counters where you can track enemy health and stuff. You've got it's not a simple. As I dropped it. It's not a simple game. You've got a mess of counters, things like that. You've got. Oh, I tossed it out. And then here you have you do have little tiny minis for you. It's hard to sell in the bag. Sorry, but you got little tiny minis. So it's really fun. And it's not expensive. It's maybe $20, I think. So if you're looking for something, you can have this in your bag. This is a nice thing. If you're going somewhere, let's say you're meeting at a game, a gaming shop, right? And you're there early, you're waiting for the rest of your gang or wherever you're going, and you're like, oh yeah, you could just toss this out and just kind of start playing game. It's light, it's easy, you can fit it in any kind of little bag. Bada bing, bada boom. It's a good dealio. All right, well, thanks for hanging out with me as I did some more work. I mentioned it, or I think the Dave had asked on the Discord there, they like how progress is coming, and we just talked for a brief minute. This is really the kind of drudgery of making rules. If you've never made rules before, respect the people who are doing all stuff, because sitting down and making lists of not just the fun stuff, which is coming up with the concepts, but actually writing them out. Like I know in my mind basically what I want to do with all these things, but you actually have to do that bit where you write it down for other people. So you have to sit there and say, okay, I got to write down something about all these things, kind of what they do, because you never know when you're going to run against somebody who doesn't. I mean, I know I guess depending on your audience, right? I could ditch a lot of the stuff saying, look, swords, you know what swords are, just do that. But I'm kind of writing it up because I want it to sort of be something that I can hand to somebody and play potentially with people who maybe aren't super know. So I'm writing all out. And I guess the one thing is, once you've written it out, if you need to pare it down, you can. But if you don't write it out, then you don't have anything. But man, having to go through and write all that stuff down, it is not the fun part because you're not in the creation part. Right. And that's always the trick with projects. In some ways, the creation part is the easy part. It's like, oh my gosh, all this great stuff, woo, coming out of the top of my head. It's okay. Now you have it. Write it down. Go through all the things. What do you need to describe? All that stuff. And that's where the rubber meets the road. And that's where I have the utmost respect for folks who really put anything out. I mean, you see anybody put anything out, regardless of how flawed it might be, how awful. Like they had to go through all these steps. And, I recommend trying it, even if you don't really try, just to see, just so you can see like, hey, these folks who are writing these adventures and maybe I hate it and maybe I think they're whatever. It's like, just try to go through and do those steps. Because if you're just doing something for your own home game, you can brush over all kinds of stuff because you know that you make a little note, you know what it means. But when you have to write a thing, you're like, I got to make this for people who aren't going to know magically what's inside my brain. And what do I need them to understand? And you got to write that stuff down. And boy, that can be a chore. But doing it on stream helped me talk through it, helped me walk through it. So it's all good. Crocker says, got to strike a fine balance between usability and detail. Yeah, and different people like different amounts of that stuff, right? What do you just need for the barest usability? What do you need for detail? It's kind of, because everyone's going to do their own thing. And I think that's the other thing is you have to, when you're writing something for somebody else, for other folks, you got to understand that and let go of the bit that people are going to get exactly what you're doing. People are going to get what they get out of it. And they're going to also change it up. And you kind of can't worry about it. But I think for myself, I do want to try to at least give an idea of here's what I'm going with. And then after that, take it. Or at least so you understand what's going on. I want to give you the understanding. So at least you understand where it is before you go off. But again, those are levels for different people. And some folks will just go like, hey, you know what? You can use swords. I don't need to tell you what swordcraft is. You can figure it out. Other people want to tell you paragraphs. And yeah, I'm kind of in between, I guess. But we'll keep hammering away at it. But I'm going to get ready. I'm going to head out to RPG Day. I might record some video. I don't know, just out and about we'll see how I feel. So maybe I'll post something on the main channel if I do kind of a vloggy thing on Free RPG Day. But yeah, have a great Saturday. Have a great RPG Day. Go support your local gaming stores. I'll probably post some updates. I'll see what kind of swaggy, kind of free stuff I can get. And if I am able to score up a copy of that game, I'll show that off too. All right, folks, enjoy the rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening. Game on, everybody. And I'll talk to you later. Bye now.